the pleasure queen, the shadow queen, and the quantum queen. Now these are 3 key queen archetypes that I have discovered through my own personal experience of this work, that these are the stages that we need to move through when we are working with the quantum, when we are working with energy. We need to move through these in this order to enable us to powerfully shift and magnetize our desires to us and work with the quantum field and manifest and work towards our big dreams and goals and keep ourselves embodied in that future version of ourselves, keep our nervous systems regulated, and have the practices in place to look at our shadows and to keep us grounded. Pleasure queen. Now, why is she called a pleasure queen? Why is she just not a happy queen or a grounded queen or a whatever the word is you want to use? Now, how many things do we see this like, this thing is for your well-being, this thing is for your healing, this thing is like a habit you need to get in place daily, like the meditation, the journaling, the walking, the, you know, whatever that habit might be. But how often do we look at this from that pleasure angle? Because it is not just about how do we get better, how do we heal, how do we have steps in place to be our best selves. It's not just about that. It is about taking it to this pleasure queen vibe, this pleasure queen level. Now these 3 steps, I also, as well as applying them to my life, accidentally found that these worked with a client as well. So my client Rose, she came in to work with me, and the first month all we did were the activities that I'm going to talk about in Pleasure Queen. The second month we worked through Shadow Queen, and then naturally the Quantum Queen came on. We didn't even do anything, like it just naturally happened, going through Pleasure Queen, going through Shadow Queen, and I'm going to tell you why that is in a moment. So Pleasure Queen is not just about how do we be the best we can be, how do we like have these tools for our well-being. It is about how do I have the optimal joy and flow and pleasure today. What feels, so I put this on today, like this fur, like it feels cozy, it feels nourishing. I've got my cup of tea as usual. It feels good to me, and that is what the Pleasure Queen is. Not just how do we feel good today, what can we do for our well-being today, how do we feel nourished, how do we feel pleasure, how do we feel joy, and like those elevated emotions. Okay, now here's the super geeky bit. The Pleasure Queen is important because it keeps us grounded. And you might think pleasure, grounding, like how does this connect together? So it has been shown by the latest science in positive psychology that when we have pleasure practices in place, we increase our levels of neurochemicals that not only make us feel good, but they create positive resilience in the brain. So I experienced this firsthand when I first went to live on my own after my divorce, and every day I was dancing, I was doing pleasure practices, and it moved me through that time. I didn't think about what do I need for my well-being today, like what do I need to get me through this divorce. It was just like, right, choose joy, choose pleasure, body first every day. Like what is it that my body wants today? Okay, that could sometimes just be tea. Okay, so this is Pleasure Queen.